Welcome to another episode of Mike's Money Picks. Today on the podcast, week 9 of the college football season is kicking off, and we've got more midweek college football action. Today on the podcast, we are going to be breaking down the 2-game Tuesday night slate for week 9 of the 2025 college football season. We're going to tell you what you can expect from each game, as well as who needs to be in or out of your DFS lineups on DraftKings and FanDuel, as well as give some information that should help you bet player props or sides and totals for these two games. Now, I do want to go ahead and get this totally squared away. We're 2 or 3 years into this now. I think I can definitively say I enjoy Maction more than the Tuesday and Wednesday Conference USA games. Why? I don't know. I can't really explain it. There's just something special about Maction. But as long as there's college football being played, and as long as DraftKings and FanDuel are offering DFS contests, and as long as there's games to bet on, I'm going to be watching it, and I'm here to break it down. Now, a little programming note for the week. I am going to be recording this one on Monday night. Tuesday night, I will not be recording at all. I have mentioned here on the show before, but I coach 2 varsity sports at the high school I teach at, boys basketball and girls flag football. And I have 2 flag football games Tuesday night that I got to coach. And so I'm not going to be recording Tuesday night. For whatever reason, DraftKings does not have the Wednesday night slate out yet. They didn't do a Wednesday night slate last week. For whatever reason, they hate Delaware. I don't know why. So probably not going to have any content for the Wednesday slate. If there is a DraftKings slate, I will have the core plays posted on the Patreon. I will be discussing it in the Fantasy Corner Discord, but there's not going to be any video or audio content for the Wednesday night slate. Wednesday night is when I will be recording and releasing the full Saturday main slate breakdown, and then Thursday night will be the live show here this week. But I will point out, if you're subscribed to the channel, you will know when all of that drops. So make sure you are subscribed and you can be with us for the rest of the college football season. All right, let's go ahead and dive into this Tuesday night action. All right, game number 1 is between the Owls of Kennesaw State and the Florida International Panthers, aka Pitbull U. Kennesaw State is 3.5-point favorites in this one, the game total of 49.5 points. That means the implied total is about 26 to 23 in favor of Kennesaw State. But what no man nor machine can account for is that if everything I'm reading is correct, this is a Vice night at FIU where they are wearing their Miami Vice themed jerseys. And I feel like that's got to be worth a point or two. So, yeah, take that for what you will. Anyway, this is a pretty good spot for both the offenses. Both these offenses I would consider right now at this moment to be average to above average Conference USA offenses. You know, both these teams racked up wins in the midweek sessions last week. They're both coming in looking pretty good, and both these teams really do look to run the football. Kennesaw State ranks 48th in the nation in rush rate. FIU is 65th, so they're both above average. And from a defensive perspective, Kennesaw State's quite balanced. They're ranked 85th in rush yards allowed, 82nd in pass yards allowed, whereas FIU has a distinct weakness to passing yards. They're 120th in the nation in passing yards allowed, whereas they're 63rd in rushing yards allowed. So what that means to me is that Dexter Williams, as a dual threat option, is in pretty good shape to put up some points here against FIU, right? Now, I do say dual threat option, but last week he did only have 6 attempts for 5 yards. Well, was not helped by a sack there. But, you know, he looked real good against Louisiana Tech. That's one of the better defenses in Conference USA. Put up 28 DraftKings points, and it was coming off of about a month of injury, and nobody really thought that he was going to be starting the game, so nobody played him. So I do think this is a pretty good spot for Dexter Williams, with FIU being pretty weak in the passing department. And I do think that Dexter Williams, among anybody on the slate, has some pretty darn clear stacking options. So I think this is a really good spot for Dexter Williams. I think if you're objectively looking at the quarterbacks here on this slate, I would have him 1 to 2. A little bit of an asterisk on that I'm going to talk about later. Now on the let me go ahead and continue talking about the running back for Kennesaw State. They have a pretty solid workhorse running back in Coleman Bennett. 3 straight games over 14 DraftKings points. One thing that I will also bang the drum for is something that we've talked about in the Fantasy Corner Discord before, is when you're looking at these game logs this time of year, you really want to zone in on conference play or similar opponents, right? And so when you're looking at Kennesaw State, those last 3 games have all been against G5 level defenses, which is what they're going to see for the rest of the season in Conference USA. And in those 3 games, 14 against Arkansas State, 14 against Middle Tennessee, 21 against Louisiana Tech, double-digit carries in every game, used in the passing game in every game. This is a pretty consistent usage for Coleman Bennett and pretty consistent effectiveness for Coleman Bennett. So I think this is a pretty good spot for him at 6,700. He's objectively one of the best running back plays on the slate. You do have Alexander Diggs there at 3,700, but he I don't know. To me, that's the type of play where if you're looking to get different, looking to get cute, maybe you can play him. It did appear last week. I didn't watch every single minute of that game, but it does appear that given that he lost a fumble, he might have gotten benched after the fumble. And then we did see 2 carries from Chase Belcher in that game. So really, if they're going to be benching Diggs for a fumble, that should just lead to more carries for Coleman Bennett. The wide receiver position, we do have objectively the top wide receiver on the slate, and that is Gabriel Banyard. 4 straight games over 15 DraftKings points, $6,200 price tag. That's super reasonable. They do get him involved in the rushing game as well, meaning they're getting him the ball on design touches, jet sweeps, screens, handoffs. Like they're just getting the ball in this guy's hands. That's a great sign for usage for fantasy, and he leads the slate overall in targets per game. 6 games played, 43 targets. That's a little over 7 per game. Objectively, he is the top wide receiver play on the entire slate, quite literally. Now, for the other wide receivers for Kennesaw, you do have Christian Moss at 31 targets on the season, about 5 a game. It's pretty consistent. When you look at the last 3, 14, 4, and 10, he's only $4,900. I do think you can double stack Dexter Williams. I also think you could kind of onslaught this offense and go top quarterback, top running back, top wide receiver. I probably wouldn't play the second wide receiver if that's the case, but Christian Moss is definitively the wide receiver too, and would definitively be the one that you would want on paper. And then after that, Lyndon Ravare, 27 targets on the season. Not like he's not like a big play guy. Like he only has 1 catch on the season, longer than 20 yards. But he did have a big game last week against Louisiana Tech. Maybe that's something to note. But, really when you're looking at these Tuesday night slates, y'all, so many times just playing a random guy that no one else is on is what ends up being profitable. And a lot of times it ends up being a lineup at the very top that's like, how in the world did they land on that lineup? And objectively speaking, Banyard looks like by far the best play. Moss looks like very clearly the number 2 play. Ravare looks very clearly like the number 3 play, and it wouldn't shock me if playing a guy like Lyndon or Ravare in an offense that we expect to have a lot of success does end up near the top of the leaderboard. After him, I'm trying to look at my list of targets here if there's anybody worth talking about. Gerard Bullock, not to be confused with Gerard Butler or Sandra Bullock, is 3,300. He's the starting tight end. He's 4th in targets on the season. I really don't think you want to go below that. The guy Clayton Kopak, he did play in the most recent game against Louisiana Tech, but 4 for 30 and a touchdown. Is that something? Is that nothing? I don't know, but he did get some usage last game. All right, let's move on to the FIU side now. So Florida International has a quarterback with a questionable tag in Keon Jenkins. Why he's questionable? I'm going to be honest, I don't particularly know. He left the game against Western Kentucky, but he is back. He entered the game afterwards. I haven't seen any indication that he is going to miss this game. In fact, I am refreshing Twitter now to see if there's anything that I have missed, because I don't see any indication that he's going to miss. I wouldn't be too worried about it. And in fact, there's nothing on Twitter that indicates that he's injured. Okay, cool. So it seems pretty certain he's going to start at 6,900. Got no problem playing him. He is a bit of a dual threat. And, we saw in the Western Kentucky game, he wasn't really needed. The offense played great in that game, only put up 11.5 DraftKings points. That can happen with him because their run game is so good with Kajan Owens, and Kajan Owens totally dominated that game. 22 carries, 195 yards. And I think he could absolutely do it again. I think he is object on the slate. Obviously, you're going to have to pay a pretty penny for him, though. But he is a workhorse with 98 carries on the season. You look at what he's done against other G5 teams, and there's 4 games to look at. There's 7, 17, 37, and 31. So 2 games over 30, 2 games that were not so great, but he does have the upside to break a slate. He's the guy that you're going to want to get to. If you're looking to get a little bit different, play an RB2, Anthony Carey does have about half the carries that Kajan Owens does. Not been as effective as Kajan Owens, obviously, because Owens is so good. But, like I said with the last team is, every now and then on these weeknight slates, these small slates, you end up with just a random that completely ends up dominating. And so I'm trying to give you guys all the names so that way you can put these randoms into your player pool if you're playing enough lineups. Now, at the wide receiver position, I don't really have a whole lot of interest on the FIU side. This is not a team that is going to throw the ball a whole lot. If they do, they're thrown to Alex Perry. He is the target leader on the season. Probably a pretty significant margin as well. 36 targets. The downside is he's only caught 19 of them. I kind of feel like he's due for some regression in that regard. He has been at his best against comparable opponents. All three of his double-digit DraftKings points performances have been against G5 teams. He is a pretty significant big play guy. At $5,700, I kind of get it. Like, I think he's a pretty solid play. I think he's far from the best play on the slate, but he's definitely going to make my player pool, and he's definitely going to be a guy that I'm going to have in some lineups, especially considering I really think that there's a chance that this game takes off more than the next one. Now, granted, I'm going to make the case for the next one taking off as well. But if it does take off on the FIU side, I absolutely think you can just play Owens and Perry and not play Keon Jenkins as a part of the stack. It's a situation like we talked about last week where the quarterback might be the least important part of the stack. After Alex Perry, you do have two receivers who have 19 targets exactly on the season, pretty significantly behind Perry, and they are Kyle McNeil, who is questionable coming into this game. He was spotted in a boot in the game against Western Kentucky, so he did not play in that game. And then you also have Mason Anderson, who's at 3,800 in that game against Western Kentucky. He caught 4 passes, 429 yards. That's a week after, I'm sorry, he missed a few games and caught 5 for 81 prior to that. So those two guys, Anderson and McNeil, pretty significant parts of the offense when they're healthy. It does not appear McNeil is healthy. It does appear that Anderson is healthy. After that, it's really hard to get excited about any of these FIU pass catchers. Like, there's just not a whole lot that have had consistent success over the course of the season. The guy that's second in pricing is Verdugo, and it's largely just because he's the tight end that fell into the end zone last week, and he got priced up to 4,900 because of it. JoJo Stone is another guy that played a pretty healthy amount of snaps last week. He's only 3,500. I really think if I'm just playing receivers for the FIU side, Perry is by far number one. Might get to a little McGuire Anderson, but that would be it in my opinion. All right, that does it for game number one. Let's take a quick breather, and then we're going to continue on with game number. Now, before we continue, I do want to mention there are places where you can get more information from me. First off, you can follow me on Twitter at Mike's Money Picks. I am more than happy to answer any questions if you reach out to me, as well as it's where I tweet out all updates for the show so you can stay in the loop with what we got going on. I'm also in the Fantasy Corner Discord. I mentioned this already, but the link is in the comment or description on YouTube as well as on the audio feed. And the Fantasy Corner Discord is a community, a bunch of really smart, really good people who are always in there talking DFS, talking plays, talking strategy, and a lot of guys who are pretty good at finding out injury information, which is a great thing to crowdsource. That way you're not searching 5,000 names right before kickoff to find out if your guys are healthy or not. So if you're looking for a community to be part of where you can just talk DFS, talk about college football and other sports, and just sweat it out and have fun together, I cannot recommend it enough. And then if you want to know who actually makes my college football DFS lineups, head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/Mike's Money Picks. Every single college football DFS slate, I have an article with my core plays as well as a full write-up why they are my core plays. So you're not only getting the plays themselves, but a good source of information why from somebody who knows what they're talking about with this stuff. All right, game number 2 is Western Kentucky taking on Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech is 3.5-point favorites. Game total is 50.5 points, meaning the implied total is about Louisiana Tech 27-23. That's pretty solid. It's also quite similar to the where it was about 26-23, right? Now, the case for this game taking off is the fact that both offenses are good at the weakness of the opposing defense. Western Kentucky is going to throw it all over the yard. They rank 9th in the nation in pass rate. Louisiana Tech ranks 117th in passing yards allowed. Strength against weakness. Louisiana Tech, on the other hand, ranks 12th in the nation in rush rate. Western Kentucky, 127th in rushing yards allowed. Strength against weakness. So the overall makeup of this game indicates that these two teams should have success offensively. However, there's a lot of question marks on this game. Starting with Western Kentucky, Maverick McIver has been their quarterback. We played him in week 0 against Sam Houston, and holy cow, I was ready to crown him as like the next Bailey Zappi. He looked great in that game. He's been pretty bad objectively ever since that game. And it really bottomed out in the FIU game where he threw for 159 yards only, season low, threw for 3 picks, season high, and also had a fumble in that game. Did not lose it, but he did apparently put it on the ground. And he was benched in the game. He was pulled for Rodney Tisdale. that know what they're doing don't always have beat writers that have good sources and good information. Weird things are going to happen, right? Also, I'm just a guy who likes hopping on here and talking about college football and talking about daily fantasy and player props and stuff like that. I do not have sources. I am not a reporter. I'm not somebody who has inside information. But I'm giving you guys everything I know. There have not been 0 people that have told me that Rodney Tisdale might start this game, because he came in relief of Maverick McIver, went 7 for 8, pretty solid, a lot better than McIver was doing. And it would not shock me if the first snap under center in this game was Rodney Tisdale. It would not. And so I am very hesitant to play McIver. I do not know how much Tisdale I am going to play. But yeah, I think that it is a strong possibility that Rodney Tisdale ends up starting this game. I'm not saying that it is going to happen. I am saying that I have been told from somebody who is a Western Kentucky person that Tisdale might end up starting this game. I will not believe it until a coaching staff verifies it or until the first snap gets taken. But what it does is it makes it a really difficult situation to target for DFS because it has such a good matchup. Whoever starts at quarterback between McIver and Tisdale is in like the nuts situation. We just don't exactly know who it's going to be. Now, granted, it could be a smokescreen. It could be just McIver, but what if it's Tisdale? I'm just saying it is something to consider when you're building your lineups. Now, at the running back position, I really like Micah Parrish, or not Micah Parrish. Micah Parrish is a basketball player. Marvis Parrish is the best running back for Western Kentucky from a DFS perspective because of his usage in the passing game. He is actually one of Western Kentucky's most targeted players, which is pretty significant considering how much they throw the ball, right? He's definitely the guy I would want. Like I said, they rank 9th nationally in pass rate. And when they do run the ball, it's a committee of Wright, Hart, McGill, and even Parrish. So a team that's not going to run the ball a whole lot, it's a committee when they do. Why not just play the running back that's going to catch passes? And that would be Marvis Parrish. So I do have a lot of interest in him. At the wide receiver position, this is where it is a mess for Western Kentucky. They do have 2 pretty significant standouts in terms of the targets and production over the course of the season. It's not rocket science to figure them out. It's Katie Hutchinson and Matthew Henry. Katie Hutchinson is the guy that is going to get more of the design touches, screens, jet sweeps, reverses, end around, stuff like that. And he's going to touch the football quite a bit, which is good for PPR scoring. But he's only scored 1 touchdown on the season. He has 2 games all season, double-digit DraftKings points. It hasn't turned into a whole lot yet for him this season. Matthew Henry is like the downfield target. And both of those 2 guys are significantly the target leaders on the season. 38 from Henry, 37 from Hutchinson so far in the season. I think Henry, who won me a lot of money in week 0, I still remember that, he's the guy that I would be looking for. I think what he does is more beneficial from a DFS standpoint because he's going to get you the deep touchdowns. He's going to get you the deep targets, which is kind of how we want to attack this Louisiana Tech defense. After that, the 3rd most targeted receiver on the season is Musa Berry, but Musa Berry is kind of being like phased out of the offense. He hasn't been significantly involved since week 2, really. And he just isn't doing a whole lot lately. It's a really tough click when you look at what he's doing lately, even though his season-long volume is right up there, not too far behind Henry and Hutchinson. After that, Noah Myers is the tight end. He is next in line in targets. Actually, Marvis Parrish is, but Noah Myers is next among the wide receivers. Not a whole lot of upside here, in my opinion. Maybe he catches a touchdown. Maybe he doesn't. I don't really see the vision there a whole lot. Cameron Flowers is a guy I would go back to, though. So Cameron Flowers is a guy I was really high on in week 0 because of the fact that he had this massive spring game for WKU, scored 2 touchdowns, caught over 100 yards. Hasn't really had a huge game in the regular season, but he's only scored 1 touchdown. He's caught 15 passes, so you could argue he's due for some regression. He has a few big plays as well. I definitely don't mind the idea of getting to him at $4,700. And then after that, it's really hard to talk yourself into anybody. Charlotte transferred Jarris Mack. I do like a lot, but he's been injured. There's no indication that he's going to play in this game, so that makes it really tough to click him, and there's just nobody else I really have interest in after that. If I had to rank it, I would go Henry 1, Hutchinson 2, Flowers 3, Myers 4, probably not even getting to Berry, in my opinion. All right, let's talk about Louisiana Tech. So Louisiana Tech is a team that loves to run the football. And what's interesting is their starter for most of the season, Blake Baker, is questionable for this game. He did not finish the game against Kennesaw State that was a week and a half ago. They got battered in that game. He is quite a bit of a runner. Now, Louisiana Tech, we've already mentioned, is a team that is going to be running the ball quite a bit. And so if the quarterback, Blake Baker, is not running, right? Like, you're just going to open up more carries to the running backs because they've already shown us that when Trey Cook is the starter, he does not really run. The only game he really ran was against Southeast Louisiana, and I don't think that's what we're going to see here. So if Baker starts, Baker's in play for me. He's not my favorite play. Like, I'd probably rank him 4th among all the plays at quarterback simply because you have to pay the most for him, and he's coming in banged up, and he's dependent on his running. But Cook, if he plays, he's definitely in my player pool as well. Really, all 4 starting quarterbacks should be in your player pool. But I don't really like them a whole lot as plays, if I'm being honest. What I want to get to, this is the tricky situation, right, is WKU's passing attack is in like this nut spot. And there's rumors that they might be benching their quarterback. Louisiana Tech, the running game is in the nut spot, but they're splitting carries pretty close to 50-50. Amiri Wiggins, 14 carries in the last game, put up 15.8 DraftKings points, pretty good. And then you've got Clay Thevenin, who had 11 carries in that game, was not effective at all, put up 8.7 DraftKings points thanks to some usage in the passing game. So which one's it going to be? I don't know. Because if you go back a further game, Thevenin had a little more of a carry share than Wiggins that in totality would lean towards Thevenin. So I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be. We've seen this running back roulette with Louisiana Tech over like the last, 4 or so seasons that we've been doing this show. They tend to do it every single year where they just play 4 or 5 running backs, and one of them gets hot for one game. It looks like he's going to be the guy, and then all of a sudden he's not. Don't really know what to expect. I think it's more likely than not that it's going to be Wiggins. But it would not shock me if Thevenin had himself a good game. Either I think Wiggins is just the better back and the back that they want to be the running back one. So I would lean Wiggins. And like I said, this is a dream spot for a running back to be in going up against this Western Kentucky defense. So I think Wiggins is in a really good spot, but he doesn't come without risk because there's a chance that he just splits carries with Thevenin. At the wide receiver position, I got to be totally honest, y'all. I don't really have a whole lot of interest in playing this Louisiana Tech team from the wide receiver position. Their most targeted receiver on the season is Devin Gandy, but he doesn't really turn into a whole lot. This is just, with the multiple quarterbacks they've had, Baker and Cook, they haven't had a whole lot of success with the passing game. And Gandy's down here at $4,300. But he is the most targeted Louisiana Tech player in the season with 27. It's not a lot. I think if you want to be different, that would be a way you can get to him, because I think a lot of people are going to opt to play through the Louisiana Tech run game. So one way you could be different is by playing a guy like Gandy. After that, you've got tight end Eli Finley up at $4,600. I just don't see a whole lot of upside there. Had one random big game against Southern Miss. Has been quite quiet other than that. And then you've also got right behind him Marcus Singleton Jr. Again, kind of the same way. I just don't see a whole lot of upside. He hasn't caught a pass longer than 15 yards all season long. That's quite incredible. And after those, it gets really thin in terms of total targets on the season. Marlon Jackson is next up. He's got 13. Just not a whole lot there. Now, granted, they've all been in the last 3 games. I guess that would be the positive for Marlon Jackson. But I don't know. It's hard to get behind this Louisiana Tech receiving room. It really is. Anyway, that is going to do it here for this episode. Hopefully we gave you guys all the information you are going to need in order to build some winning DraftKings and FanDuel lineups here on this Tuesday night slate. If this video helped you out, please hit the like button. It helps me a ton when you guys do that on YouTube. I cannot stress enough how much I appreciate it. And if you are listening on audio, it will really help me out if you guys rate and review the show. But that is going to do it for this episode. Like I said earlier, if you want more from me, follow me on Twitter, join the Fantasy Corner Discord, or check out the core plays on the Patreon. And also, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That we can be with us for the rest of our college football content all season long, which is this going to be the main slate show coming out on Wednesday, the live show coming out on Thursday, and we'll see if we have the ability to get to the Friday and the night slate for Saturday as well. They might be fit in there somewhere also. But that is going to do it here for us today, y'all. Best of luck to you guys on this Thursday night or Tuesday night slate. I hope you guys enjoy it. Like I said, it's a special time of year when we get to watch college football on our TV 5 nights a week, even if it is crappy Conference USA football. That's going to do it here for us, though. Best of luck to you guys on the Tuesday night slate. Hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you guys for watching and listening to this point, and I will see you guys next time.